Thanks very much, Graham. Thanks for the intro. Welcome, everyone. Delighted to have this opportunity to talk to you about privileged access security and introduce Osirium if you've not come across us before. So if you haven't, just by way of an introduction, Osirium, we're a software vendor specializing in privileged access management and privileged access security. We're kind of recognized as a Gartner core vendor. We've been around for a number of years now. We're focused in the UK, headquartered in the UK. All of the engineering support services are here. You can see by our customers, we've really, started to grow the UK customer base. But in fact, we've got customers all over the world as well. I've also got customers in the rest of Europe, Middle East, Africa, and the US as well. So some great brands. If you've not heard of us, you'll have definitely have heard of our customers. So today we're going to talk about primarily privileged access management. I'll introduce that as a concept to you. We're going to show a short demonstration of the solution as well. But just to put it into kind of the broader context, I'll go into the detail, but PAM, Privileged Access Management, is essentially a platform that is going to enable organizations to protect access and credentials for connecting to critical assets such as servers, infrastructure, cloud-based platforms within their environment or managed by other organizations. That's where we're going to focus our time. Complementary to that, we do offer privileged endpoint management. This is designed again around administrator and privilege, but this is designed for Windows workstations where you may have users within your organization that currently are local administrators of their own Windows devices. We're not going to talk a great deal about that today, but as you may know, if you work in a security role, that's a pretty compromised position to leave people in, and ideally you don't want people running as local admins on their local device. It leaves them open to malware and ransomware. So we have a solution, PEM, that enables you to remove the need for people to be local admins, yet still allow them, based on a policy, to elevate up to perform certain actions as though they were an admin in a fully audited and controlled way. Quite often we'll find organizations have even started doing this, maybe moving things to the service desk, put a burden on the service desk, or maybe they have to leave certain applications, big Windows applications, things like AutoCAD or Visual Studio, things like that. Sometimes you have to leave people as admins, and yet that's not really ideal. So we'll come back to that another day. Rounding out the portfolio from Osirium is Osirium Privileged Process Automation, PPA, sometimes just called Osirium Automation. This is a tool that enables you to take any task that your IT administrators are performing. If it's at all repetitive, we can wrap those actions that they're taking manually up into an automated playbook, wrap it with an automated wizard type interface, or even just place an API on that, and then enable the organization to delegate running those tasks, those automated tasks, say in the service desk or even to the line of business, freeing up the time from the IT administrators, yet still leaving them nice and secure. But today we're going to focus on PAM. For those of you that maybe aren't familiar with PAM, what you'll hopefully understand is that every piece of IT equipment or every single application that's in your environment, when it first gets installed, has the initial installation account, the administrator account, root account, super user account, super admin account, all those things. In fact, they'll even let you create other accounts to manage, set up new users, configure the application or the server. And those are great. They're essential to IT operations. But we're starting to see lots of users being able to access these systems with these privileged accounts. And the problem is that these privileged accounts let you do everything, which is great if that's your intention. But if you're an attacker, they're also the account that, if you gain access through those accounts, enable you to destroy and cause mayhem within an organization. So we really need to get these under control. Those accounts are kind of in the news for kind of all the wrong reasons, I guess. because, you know, ransomware is on the escalation, cyber attacks are on the escalation. I've spoken to organizations where they said, you know, I don't need to worry about this because I'm not a big global bank. That may have been the case at one point, but ransomware has really commoditized cyber attacks and really just enabled organizations really of any size to be a potential victim. And we've got a solution around privileged access management that can help you not only with targeted cyber attacks, but also protecting against ransomware as well. In fact, the National Cybersecurity Centre even highlighted this, because ransomware is evolving from not only trying to encrypt local user devices, but because the attackers know that if you can recover from a backup, you can avoid paying the ransom. They've actually evolved the ransomware to maybe lay dormant, look for someone that's using those privileged accounts, and actually then go and seek and destroy the backups, and actually even further going after hypervisors within an infrastructure as well, to destroy those, to stop you getting back to a known state and avoid the ransom. Their recommendation from the NCSC is you need to have privileged access management in your environment, at a minimum, protecting your backup systems to ensure that ransomware can't make that attack and avoid you from having a way out of a ransomware infection. So why is PAM so important? I've mentioned really, you know, PAM, if you've any familiarity with them, all PAM solutions, broadly speaking, do the same thing. They are controlling privileged credentials, those admin accounts. They're controlling who can have access to them, and managing access to environments. The reason why they're so important, because before PAM, what you'll probably discover is that IT administrators and people within your organization can share passwords. They're just trying to remember passwords. They're using the same password on multiple systems. You've tried to make them complex, so making them complex means that they don't like to change them and they use the same password everywhere. And you've got people using passwords that aren't secure, have been shared. You've possibly even got people that have left your business and still know the passwords, the administrator passwords, to some critical systems within your environment. It's just not good practice, but without a PAM solution, it's really difficult to get those passwords under control and be able to change them without disrupting and impacting the business. So without PAM, really what you're looking at is this kind of complex mesh of access, where really the only thing you're relying on to control access is who knows what passwords to what systems. And if, you know, user 2 tells user 3 the privileged password to connect to a particular server, or even, you know, the cloud-based account for your corporate Facebook account, you don't know that. They just know the passwords. So you don't have visibility as to who's connecting to what when, because quite often these privileged accounts are shared accounts like root. So you can see in the logs of your systems that someone's logged in as root and done something, but you don't know which individual within your organization was performing that action. It's impossible to control. People are sharing, people leave the business. Perhaps one of these users could even be an external vendor of yours that you need to give one-time access to help you with resolving a particular issue. But then, of course, they now know the account and you can't go and change the password because you don't know who it's going to impact within your business. So it really encourages unsafe practices. You've got very little audit and leaves organizations highly vulnerable. And yet this is the situation that most organizations are in today within their IT operations. So within an organization that does have a PAM solution, PAM acts as this kind of virtual air gap. It separates people from systems so that the users don't know the privileged password that they're using to connect to the servers. They're able to authenticate in, but then the PAM solution is determining based on the policies what they're allowed to access with what privilege, and they're just simply click and connect to get to those systems. It means that you control, you know, exactly who has the right access to the right accounts by the right people at the right time. The other thing PAM is going to do for you is it's also going to video record and audit all of those sessions as they occur. So you always can go back, reassure your auditors you've got the governance and control in place to operate a kind of a least privilege, zero trust type of strategy within your organization, where you've got this focal point of control. So I've mentioned some of the use cases. It could be that ransomware, air gap to your backup solutions or other critical systems. I've also mentioned vendor access. So many organizations need a third party to come in and access their systems for them, but you really don't know who they are sharing passwords with. You also don't know whether the patching policies and the antivirus policies and everything of your vendor actually align to those that you may have in place. So when they're VPNing into your network at the moment, you don't know what software they're bringing into your network, and you don't know whether they're also acting as a tunnel for a hidden attacker on their environment, or even where they may pivot to. So PAM's going to help definitely with vendor access. You may just be going through Cyber Essentials assessment. Again, there are requirements in Cyber Essentials to say that you've controlled access to privileged accounts and no one has more privilege than they need to be able to do their job. It's cropping up in cyber insurance renewals. We're seeing in healthcare, the kind of DSPT toolkit requirements. You may have even just got pinged on an audit to say that this is not ideal. Depending on the environment that you're in and the market that you operate in, there may be regulatory requirements as well that even control employee access, to maybe a PCI controlled environment as well. Or you may have actually been a victim of some kind of cyber breach and you're looking to think about how you can kind of control your defenses in a better way moving forwards. So when we look at Osirium PAM, how do we really solve the problem? Now, I'm going to go into a demonstration straight after this slide, but hopefully the slide is simple enough for you to keep this in your mind's eye. So how does Osirium PAM work? Central to everything is a virtual appliance that can sit in your network, but it can also be run in AWS or Azure, so it can be hosted in the cloud as well. You can have one or more appliances for high availability and resilience, and it's going to act as the gateway between users using their regular Windows non-privileged accounts, connecting into critical systems with those super user root admin accounts on the right-hand side. It's really simple to get up and running. We can get people up and running in less than a day. The reason why it's so quick is once you've got that PAM installed, your users, your IT administrators are connecting to PAM just simply using a web browser. So they don't need any software installed. Equally, PAM can be inside the secure part of your network, and we don't need your users to VPN into your network to be able to connect to PAM and have privileged access to target systems that you've defined for them. So again, no VPN required, and yet we've got this nice controlled access from users. When they connect, you'll see in the demonstration that they're connecting to target systems. So this could be Windows servers, Linux servers, network switches, cloud-based environments, SQL databases with a particular tool. You'll see when we connect, if it's just a Windows or Linux type device, we'll click, we'll connect. That RDP or SSH session is just going to start up in the browser, no software required for the user. For more complex situations, maybe where you want a particular tool to fire up or you want to limit the scope of access, we enable customers to run what we call a map server. The map server is essentially a tool server. You can load up any software that you want on that Windows server and use it as a mechanism to connect to a target system. So this could be the client application for connecting to a database. It could be a browser for connecting to the web interface of a network switch. And you'll see in the demonstration, actually, it could be a browser acting in kiosk mode to connect to my AWS console. So I can really lock down what's going on. So the PAM appliance is controlling who can connect access to what when, using policies. It's actually managing all of the privileged credentials. So they're under management within PAM. So the users no longer know the privileged credential that's being used to connect them to the target environment. PAM has rotated it automatically and periodically to make it super complex, the most complex it can be, and it's a regularly changing password. And then finally, PAM's keeping an audit trail of who connects to what when, including a video recording of who did what. And in that environment, really, you know, within Osirium, if you've come across PAM before, then you may have heard, you know, scare stories, horror stories about how complex it can be. Hopefully you'll see from this architecture, and you'll see from the demonstration in a second, it really is simple. Nothing really to install anywhere except that PAM appliance. We're agentless on both sides, and it's just got all the functionality in a single module, and it's really easy to license. You just count the number of target systems you want to protect, and that's it. Unlimited users, no constraints on the architecture, and you're good to go.
Fantastic. So Stuart, are we going to go to the demo shortly?
Yes, we will. Yeah, well, next thing we'll do is we'll go to the demo.
So while Stuart sets up his demo, we're just going to run a short poll. Shouldn't take you guys no more than 1 minute. So Ollie, if you could launch that poll, please. Thank you. And one lucky person will win an Amazon voucher for completing the poll. Thank you.
Graham, would you like me to continue, or just give a minute for the poll?
Ollie, will this poll remain throughout the rest of the demo?
Yeah, the poll will be up. So like, it should be up in front of you guys. If it's not, you can kind of ping me into the chat. But yeah, just leave it open, and I would carry on, because we're obviously we started 2 minutes late, but we're kind of about 4 minutes until our 22 minutes is up.
Okay, well, let's keep this short and brief then. So, keeping that architecture in your mind's eye, I've just fired up a browser. I've pointed my browser at the PAM appliance. I'm using my non-privileged regular Windows credential to authenticate in, and now PAM's basically applying the policies and telling me, here are the systems that I'm allowed to access. Obviously, this could be lots of systems within an environment, so I can, you know, filter those. I can look for, you know, do free text search, find the thing I need to connect to. But let's just say I need to connect to that Windows server. I just see this, find the server that I want, I click, and when I connect, it's connecting me through the appliance. It's secretly injecting the privileged credential, and there you go. It's taking me straight into an RDP session right within my browser, no other software on my desktop, and it's telling me how I've connected, giving me some tools, but at the same time, it's also letting me know that this session has been audited and it's actually being video recorded. Now, at this point, I'm in at the server level, so I've got access to the entire desktop, including all of the tools and everything else that may be installed on this server. Now I'm going to log out from here and show you how I could perform this same action, maybe updating AD users and computers, but without needing to give access to the entire server. So in this instance, I'm going to go through the map server, and I'm going to use that connection to fire up that AD users and computers tool, and then connect into Active Directory with the privileged credential. So now it's fired up the tool. I can see my AD users and computers. I can carry on doing my job, but at this point, you'll notice there's no other access to that server that's going on. So I've immediately shrunk down the scope just to the items that I need to do my job, but I've limited and ensured least privilege and best practice here. So again, this is the map server. Now let's just finish that job. Now, of course, I've mentioned those tools could be anything. It could be, you know, Toad connecting to a SQL database. Actually, in this instance, I'm going to connect to my AWS console. I don't want my administrators knowing the credentials to my AWS console, but I want them to connect. So in this instance, I'm firing up a connection to AWS. It's opening up a browser in kiosk mode, so it's all locked down, and then it's secretly injecting the privileged credentials to get me into that console. So again, you know, I could have been running Chrome or Internet Explorer, or whatever it might be. The tool could be anything here, connecting to anything. Again, video recording, audited. I don't know the credentials, but I've got full control to get on and do my job. Of course, it's not just Windows that we can connect to. It's not just browser-based systems or other tools. You know, if I need to connect to Linux here, you know, here I am connecting in as root. but I'm getting that audit of who connected to what when. Of course, sometimes we don't just want to give people always on access. So we've also got the ability for you to request and schedule future access, and for that to go through an approval process. And then, of course, in the background, I can even use PAM to connect to the back end and the administrator access of PAM. So when I connect as though I'm a super user of PAM itself, so this will be a very few number of users, here's my dashboard. I can see how my PAM implementation is going, and I can see who's using what systems, when they're connecting, are all my passwords under management, are they being fully rotated? And then if I need to, I can always go back and see those connections of who connected to what, when, and even go back if I need to and replay the video to see, here's me connecting to that environment. And what did I do during that session? So that's PAM from a user perspective, and even from an administrator and auditor perspective. And that's PAM in 4 minutes. That's it for the demonstration.
Thank you, Stuart. Very, very good, and well done for keeping it within the time constraints. We're happy to stay on for another 5 minutes if anybody's got any questions they want to post in the chat. If anybody wants to leave, well, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for completing the poll as well. There's one question that's come in. It says, from time to time, we have consultants come on site. Can Osirium control that access and the time that they have access to the systems? Stuart?
Yes. So in the, if I go back to the diagram, so within the PAM appliance, we can authenticate users to, say, your Active Directory and Active Directory groups. Sometimes, though, you might have external users you don't want to set up in AD. So we can also have local users on the PAM appliance as well as AD users. So you might just set up that external contractor on your PAM appliance, assign them a particular group that's going to determine when they log in what they get access to see. And you would possibly, to answer that specific question, give access to the various systems, but specifically require that they require approval at the time they want to connect or schedule to connect, and that will go through an approval workflow. So yes, that's how we would manage that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. No other questions at the moment, but please feel free to contact RS22 via phone or email if anybody's got any follow-up questions. But other than that, thank you very much to Stuart. Thank you for everyone for attending, and enjoy the rest of your days. Thank you.